Well, good morning and good afternoon. If you're on the East Coast, it's still morning for those of us in Central Time and Pacific Time. I welcome you all here. And yes, you're not imagining something. Minnassa is actually live. You know, this used to be my old schedule every other Saturday, but things have changed. And so now I'm on here when I can be. Now, if you just need a dose of Minnassa, you can see me in the morning with Minnassa Wellness, Mindful Mornings with Minnassa. Monday is Mindful Monday. Tuesday is Tarot Tuesday. Wednesday is Wind Down Wednesday. So then that happens at 6:30 p.m. Thursday is Thoughtful Thursday. And Friday, 5 Card Friday. Then here I am live. I want to wish you happy Pride. Last Saturday was Mid South Pride here in Tennessee. It was hot as heck, but I'm going to let you know that the seniors from out Memphis, we showed up and showed out, and so much love, so much love. And so I want to welcome all of you and thank you for being here. I'm just waiting for the notification to drop before I bring on my special guest. I see that Sharon Sipe, who is one of the moderators, was here already, and we are good to go. Let me see. Here we go. All right. So, again, welcome. I'm glad that you're here. I say thank you to those of you that catch me on the replay. And if you don't already, please like and subscribe. Now, I am very excited about my guest today. Let me turn down. Very excited about my guest today. Everything you want to know about this person or how to contact them is in the show notes. So the links are there. And then I'll make sure to ask him to share that information as well. I'm excited. If you want to change your life, you have to do something different. And so I wanted to change my life, or actually enhance and improve my life, because it's pretty good. So I wanted to enhance and improve it and step into my skills. So one of the ways for me to do that was I had to change the hours that I worked at my job, which most of you know. And I started working 3 12-hour shifts in the ICU, not as a nurse, because then they would need a nurse to save them from what I did, but as the admin, so that I could free up my schedule. One of the benefits of freeing up my schedule was I was able to go to BTAC, the Black Trans Advocacy Council Conference in Dallas, Texas. I drove my little Volkswagen on the 40 to the 30 to the, I don't know, some other freeway, and made it there. And it was at this location. One, I got to do my presentation. There was so much love, so much freedom in the air. I was sitting in the lobby, and another LGBTQ lady was there, a lesbian lady, and her and I got to talking. And she said to me, please let them know I'm so happy to see them free. I'm so happy to see the freedom. And, because her and I are older ladies, so we knew that there was a time that that wasn't the case. It wasn't the case for gay and lesbians, and now for the trans community to really, for us all to come together and say, you know what, this is who we are, deal with it. Not even deal with it, just this is who I am. And so it was just a beautiful thing. But at this event, I got to meet Dr. Scholarly, and he reminded me that we had actually interacted on the app prior. Him and I both did presentations at the same time. So, of course, I could not attend his presentation. He could not attend mine. But then we had a wonderful chance to sit and have lunch together. And it was just like a connection there. Hey, hey, Jane, and welcome. There was just a connection there. And so we have stayed in touch. And here we are. And so, without further ado, I want to welcome my special guest today on this Pride edition of Minnassa Wellness Can We Talk, Dr. Scholarly. Yay! And so I love it that you have that your pronouns are me, myself, and I.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to then step back and allow you to introduce yourself.
Peace and love, everybody. Peace and love. My name is Dr. Scholar Lee. My pronouns are me, myself, and I. I was born and raised in New Haven, Connecticut, currently residing in Atlanta, Georgia. And overall, my mission and purpose is to make people feel great about themselves, and to lead them and enlighten them to a greater version of oneself. So with that being said, here I am.
So, what was it like growing? like I grew up in California, and so Connecticut to me just says freezing cold. What was it like growing up in the Northeast?
Exactly that, freezing cold. Uh, no, but it was great because I've been there for about 30 years. When I was then I went over to St. Louis for the probably the past for 3 years because my wife resided out there, and then now I'm in Atlanta. So to see that diversity was a bit different. Connecticut was very liberal than other states I navigated. So there was a lot more services out there than there are here in the South or in the Midwest. But overall, it was cool. It was 4 seasons. And yeah, so now I love Atlanta because it's sunny all the time. We don't have a white Christmas, as they say out here. There's no snow, so that was pretty different. Felt like Halloween out here because there's more leaves than anything. But
Okay.
so, but yeah, that's pretty much my experience in Connecticut. Yeah.
So tell me your journey. What this is Pride Month, and so we are celebrating the LGBTQ plus community. And so last year I had queer tarot readers on, and we did readings. I don't even think we ended up pulling out the cards because we had such a great conversation. And so my wife and I were talking, and my wife is on a case management, traveler case management assignment in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I am surviving without her here, which is, but all right. So I was telling her, oh yeah, she said, I saw your guest. I said, yeah, I met him at, BTEC. And she says, he's trans? I said, yes. And I told her, I said, just like you and I had the conversation that while I was there, it was almost like being in a different world because, people be like, and I'm like, huh? Right? Like this one person was sitting in front of me and they were talking about how they were using this stuff for their hair. This one man was sitting in front of me and he was talking about how he uses stuff for his hair. And then he's like, yeah, because this testosterone. I was like, huh? Even Carter Brown, when we had, I don't know if you were on the orientation that we had for the speakers. They had an orientation meeting for the speakers done by Zoom.
Okay, yes,
And they
yeah.
were talking, and so it was Esperanza and Carter Brown, who are the founders and the glue and the love and the energy of BTAC. And um, they were saying something. So I'm seeing like a woman and a man, right? And then Carter says, well, because during my transit, I'm like, what? Right? So talk about your journey. Then let's talk about how it seems that for cis, like I wonder why cis Black women seem to be getting killed at such a high rate, where I don't hear that same thing happening for trans Black women seem to be getting killed at such a high rate, and I don't hear that same conversation for trans Black men. And I'll say it's partially because, as you can tell, I don't have a good gaydar also because people be like, well, I'm gay. I'm like, huh? Right? I'm just like, I guess because I'm partially, I'm just taking you as you are.
Mhm.
So if you tell me you're this, okay, but I'm still going to accept you for whatever you just said. So
Mhm.
share a little bit of your journey. And for me, what you shared with me the other day was just very empowering, stepping into yourself, being self-defining, which is something we can talk about more.
Yeah.
So please share your journey to the amazing. You're an amazing human at the beginning, and you're just an amazing, empowered, evolved human now. So if you don't mind, share whatever you want about your journey to where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm 36 years old. At the age of 30, I was enlightened to the trans and non-binary community. So I would say for 30 years, I was living not knowing who or not for 30 years I had this void in me that I could not identify, I could not define. Ever since I was young, it could have been 5, could have been 7, could have been 3, but ever since I could remember, I just remember desiring to be male. I just wanted to be male, and I would have these dreams of being male and waking up, and that was not my reality. And having to live with that depression, and having to suppress that because I didn't have a way to express that, right? Express these feelings. And it's not even really of me wanting to be male, but when you're taught about being female or male, then it's like, okay, well, I have these two concepts here, and I'm more so straying here. I like these type of toys. I like to wear these kind of clothes. I like to do these kind of things. And those things that I like to do, that I love to do, or that I was automatically drawn to, was not in alignment with the things that girls did. Okay. And I guess it didn't help either that when I went to school, naturally, I just made a lot of guy friends. So here I am for 30 years, and being raised in a black environment, household. Church is very heavy, very strong. So I'm learning this other belief system when it comes to navigating life, and how to navigate it according to God's standards. So here I am I'm taking in all this information. I'm like, well, okay, I don't like doing these things. And then if I have these attractions towards this same gender, and God is saying that's not right, that's wrong, and I was going through the 5 stages of grief. If we don't are aware of those, anger, denial. I was angry with God because I'm like, why did you make me this way if you were going to condemn me?
Mm.
And I was depressed because I didn't have an outlet. I love to sleep, and I was bargaining with my identity at a point, because just navigating spaces to make people feel comfortable. And then I had to go through this stage of, yeah, then I went through the depression, and then eventually, when I became enlightened, I joined this LGBT Greek organization for dominant women, masculine women, excuse me. And one of the subgroups was a trans and non-binary org. So I went on Facebook one day and I saw this before and after picture, and I was like, "Whoa!" I did that. I said, "What?" I was had the same reaction. I was like, "Man!" And then I'm immediately in the inboxes trying to get some information, and I was just like, I felt so affirmed. I felt like I wasn't going crazy this whole time,
Mm.
because for 30 years I was living in darkness, and I was in prison. Imagine being in prison. That's more than a life sentence, great people. Yeah, I think a life sentence is 25 years. So 30 years in darkness, not having an outlet, not knowing how to align these feelings that you have. Because even associating myself with the labels of lesbian, it was too feminine for me. So I would navigate the world as a stud, because that was just like pretty, straightforward for me. And but it still was a void there, even in my relationships. It didn't help. I went to school as a child. As a child, I was going to school, I'm being called tomboy. Then I
Mm.
was in my relationships, and they're like, "Oh, you're just like a man," and I'm like, all right, but then I'm not, because I don't have these certain body parts. Um, so it was just like I'm having all these affirmations here in this weird way, but it was just I was just uh, I don't know how to really describe it. Like, I was so depressed that death was freedom for me. That's how I looked at
Mm.
death. It was like,
Mm.
if I just died, I didn't have the boldness to do it, but I just was not scared of dying. I'm still not, but in a healthier way. But I wasn't scared of dying, because I was like, I don't have to navigate this life in this body. And most importantly, I don't have to navigate this life in this world full of labels and limitations. Okay. And I just wanted to be free. I just wanted to breathe my own air. And that's what I felt when I was enlightened to the trans and non-binary community. I was like, okay, this is where I belong.
So
And
let me interrupt you for a minute, because one of the things, there's a couple lesbian couples
mhm,
that I follow on Instagram, on my Mr. Mrs. and Mrs. Boomer page, me and Gail's page together. And I reason I follow them and I try to like their stuff is because they say it wasn't until they saw a lesbian couple that they knew they could do it.
mm,
That until they saw a lesbian couple with children, they
mhm,
thought, oh, I can be myself and have a family. And
mm,
so they say, even though on every one of their posters, people saying stuff that church told them to say, you're going to hell and you're bad, blah, blah, they don't care, because they want that one person to see, you
mm,
can do this. You
yeah.
can live this life.
Yeah.
You are normal in the way that you're feeling right now. And so I love the fact that when you saw someone who represented, hey, this is my life now, you're like, oh, heck.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was just, it was like my divine led me that path because there weren't any Greek orgs. I had, my dad has five brothers. All my uncles were, fraternity. They were Omegas.
Omega
And
man.
yeah, and I wanted to be in the Greek org too. But as I got older, in order for me to be Greek, I had to join a sorority, and I wasn't
AKA or
trying.
deltas.
I wasn't trying to do that. So I'm like, oh, there we go. So I went to this meeting, and this lady told me about LGBT Greek orgs, and I'm like, really? So that's what led me down that path because there weren't none in Connecticut. So the lack of visibility definitely was needed for me to have that identity, and in my environment there was no visibility concerning transgender or anything like that. I mean, I knew about people who got surgeries, but they were mostly male identified who were getting these surgeries. I didn't see any female identified beings doing that. So
Mhm.
it was like, okay, you know, but yeah, visibility and representation is very essential, and
Yeah, I
that's
think it was
the thing.
just even this comment from Gerald saying someone seeing themselves in you, being you, is so important.
Yes, absolutely,
You know, and then
absolutely.
Terry just really wanting to honor you, that how hard that must have been when
Yeah,
you were not able to really be yourself.
yeah. It was very hard because we're all raised. I don't even want to make this culture based, right? But as children, we're told to obey, obey, obey. You have to obey in the household, so you have to obey your parents and your elders and things of that nature. Then you go to church, you have to obey what the bishop or the priest or whoever is saying, whatever. And then you go to school, you got to obey your teachers and this. And then you go out in society, and you got to obey these laws. And you're like, wait, okay. As a child, it's just like obey, obey, obey. And the
Hmm.
more you obey, the more you take away from your truth and trying to find
Mm.
out where your truth is. And even if you have the opportunity to express your truth, they're like, no, you don't know what you're talking about because you're young. I was 3 years old and I knew who I was. So
Mm.
so I can't
You
have
want to say that again? Say that
that.
again.
I was 3 years old and I knew who I was. So I have a deep understanding, and I mean understanding, great people, when it comes to our youth trying to tell their parents who they are, and these adults are saying you don't know who you are.
Mm.
No, you didn't know who I was for 30 years. For 30 years I was in, you didn't know who I was. You knew who you wanted me to be. You knew what you
Mm.
wanted to create out of me. That's what you knew, but you didn't know who I was. In the meantime, you denied me the privilege, or you denied me the opportunity to express and communicate who I was because I was too busy obeying. And as I got older, that obeying led me to people pleasing, right? Because now I'm just
Mm.
trying to make grandma happy. I'm just trying to make mommy happy. So I got the good grades in school. I went to school. There really were no options for me. And I played the sports, and then that toxic behavior led into toxic relationships because now in my intimate relationships, I'm trying to please them, right? If I wanted a pair of shoes, I was like, no, I'm good, but if my partner at the time wanted that same pair of shoes, I would get it for him. So that people pleasing, so that toxic behavior as a child of obeying led me to people pleasing in relationships, in friendships, and all types of things where I didn't think I mattered. And I'm taught to treat people how I want to be treated. So if I treat you respect, then I'm expecting for you to treat me with respect back. And that wasn't the case. So I
Right.
had to learn how to treat myself the way I wanted people to treat me. So I had to learn how to love myself. And what did healthy love feel like? Because I
Well,
was too
you and I
busy.
had talked about earlier that I call myself a recovering people pleaser. That
Yeah.
yes, I also was that child. I was the oldest child, the only child for 8 years, and oldest child after that, and all this. My cousins ahead of me were supposed to be going to college, so it was one after one after one after one didn't go. And then my one cousin got a degree in African American Studies, which my family considered to be worthless.
Mm,
Because of course my family, you're not supposed to do stuff that's black, you're supposed to do stuff that's white, so white people will accept you and approve you, and
yeah.
yeah, a
And it's
recovering people pleaser. I get it. I
Yeah.
say recovery because it can come up.
Hmm. It is because like I was the oldest child out of five. My dad has six kids. I'm the oldest, and I have five brothers. So I don't. So at that time, I was the only female out of my siblings, right?
All right.
And so, as we know, with the old child syndrome, whatever they want to complex, there's a lot of pressure as an oldest sibling. So I didn't have those options. It was like you're going to school, you're going to college, okay. And I was the first one to go to college out of my generation, because my mom got pregnant when she was a teen. So she lived her dreams through me to some extent. So it was you're going to college, and that was just a lot of pressure for a child to deal with. It's like, how do I enjoy my childhood when I can't even express my truth?
Mm.
How can I enjoy my innocence when I'm too busy living up to your standards, to your expectations? How does that work? And then when I get older, you're the first people to judge me when I'm not making a proper decision. But you didn't give me an ability or the option to make decisions on my own when I was a child, though. So how
Mm.
does that work? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, the freedom to express myself. So when I became enlightened to the trans and non-binary community, I made a decision in my head. I said, you know what? For 30 years, I've been living to make people comfortable. I've been compromising my truth to make other people comfortable. And I'm tired. And it was to a point I'm very family oriented, and I don't want to. My family's not terrible because they're very loving and supportive. I don't want to say that. I don't want to paint that picture,
Correct,
but
but it was a journey. And I
yeah,
mean, also for our community, for
hmm,
Black families, just like mine, you're going to go to college because they knew that paper was going to open doors for me that the color of my skin might close. And so,
exactly,
they weren't just being evil. Like, I'm
mhm,
going to, they had a purpose, but we were never a part of the conversation.
exactly,
And so, they wanted us to do better. They want each generation to do better,
and that's all they
so.
knew, and they were loving. So that's so when I said this is what I'm going to do, I didn't leave. I didn't leave the conversation open for debate. It said, listen, this is what I'm doing, and I'm just letting you know because, one day I'm gonna come here sounding like how I am today. Okay. And I don't want y'all scratching your head because, all of a sudden, you see me with a beard and everything like that. But I do want to make a point because you stated to overall my transition has enlightened me to the magician within me, the magic that I have as a person that we all have.
Mm.
Because this little kid, envisioned or would have dreams about being male and waking up and that wasn't my reality. Looking in the mirror and just wondering what I would look like with this beard, right? Just wondering or desiring to play basketball with his shirt off, and have that privilege, and not having to wear these sports bras and all types of other stuff. A day without cramps was great. Okay. I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, we got, and the what my heart was desiring and what my heart wanted is what is has been created now, and it was that journey that led up to here. So what I also have tapped into was the magician in me and what I manifested, because manifestation is a man in which you see, right? It's man I fest. So the man that you see and who you see is once was a thought in my mind. So my thought has now become tangible, and now I have a deep understanding of my ability to create what it is my heart desires to create, what it is I envision. I stopped creating other people's visions for myself and started creating the vision within me.
Now, let
So
me interrupt you for a minute because I think it's very, yeah, Jane says, I love that man, I fest. So you're hitting on some very important spiritual concepts and topics. So one of the things I want to take about is that, I've told you, that I'm a tarot professional and I use the tarot card. So very interesting that you would use the magician because
mhm,
the magician is the card that represents. You see, I have a tarot deck in here, but I don't have time to run through it. So that the magician card represents. Usually it's a person. Now, depending on the deck, it's a man, it's a woman. I have one that have a deck with all animals, so it's a beautiful raven. But on the table with the magician's going to have the cups, the wands, the swords, cups, wands, swords, and pentacles.
mhm,
Because the magician has everything they need to create and do the very magic in their life. So the first card in the tarot deck, the major arcana, is the Fool. And to us, a fool is someone who's foolish. But this deck represents someone who's innocent, who's open, and who's ready to walk forward on their new journey. And then the very next card after that is the Magician's card. Because again, as you walk on your journey, you have everything that you need. And so even as a kid, that person in you
Mhm.
was there, and so the vision was there. And then when the tools became available to you, you were able to create the life that you want. Yes, as Gerald is saying right here, yeah, the magician has all the necessary tools available to them.
And I agree because I have a bunch of tarot decks here. I have probably over 30, but
Oh,
but
you know what, then you're going to have to come back and we can do readings.
oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I have that's because that's a way that I communicate with spirit as
Now
well.
see, I didn't know that. How come I didn't know that about you till right now?
Oh
Did we
yeah.
not talk about did we not talk about that?
I don't think so. I don't think we touched on that. I don't know. Apparently not.
Obviously. Well then,
But
yes.
I do want to say, when it comes to the fool, I interpret the fool as because he carries this light bag. He has a knapsack, right? And I feel that that is a heart chakra energy card because you
Hmm.
have to be light in your heart. You have to be a fool in order to create magic because people don't see the magic in them. So there's a part of you that has to be foolish enough to navigate life outside of the box. In order to be extraordinary. In order to be that, you have to be the fool. You have to be magicians. You have to tap into your seven of cups, right? You have to have these dreams. And these dreams are coming from that foolish energy because when you express it, right, as a child, let's go back there. The best thing, children are so innocent because they're so sacred and they're so creative. They have this imagination that thinks outside of the way the us adults navigate the lands. So when we have this creative imagination and we communicate that, what is the first thing our children say? I mean, let's look at the movie Matilda. You're a fool. It's pretty much what he was saying. You're stupid. You're dumb. I'm right. You're small. I'm big. All this other stuff. You're attacking the fool in me. You're calling me a fool. So you're a fool to imagine. You're a fool to not believe in God. You're a fool to live in your truth. You're a fool. But what's wrong with being a fool? It is those who take a risk because that's what fools do. But what's the first thing all of these successful people say? I had to take a risk. I had to be a fool in order to create what I was not exposed to as a child. Would Oprah have been a fool? If she just continued to live according to society on food stamps, broke, busted, in poverty, whatever they want to say we're doing.
Hmm. Hmm.
I think it's a fool to live your life limited, labeled, and safe. It's
Hmm.
unsafe to live in my truth because to live in your truth is the number one cause of death. Jesus was crucified to his truth, was he not?
Hmm. Hmm. Now you better preach on. I want to highlight this Audrey May. You have to be a fool to generate magic. This
Yes.
Audrey held down the fort here in Memphis, at Out Memphis for the seniors.
Mm,
And so she had a bookstore here in the 70s, you talked about being here in the South
mhm,
and going against your grain, someone who has lived her truth. So glad to have her here today. And then her and I work together with the seniors now. But
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
when we marched last week, we had a truck. I said, the Stonewall generation is still here. And
Mm,
kids standing along the side of the route yelling to us, we owe you everything.
mhm,
Thank you. And again, that concept of, if people like Audrey here in the South, I think about Marsha Johnson, people all across the spectrum, Audrey Lorde, your neighbor, whoever, I remember when I was a little girl, I told this story before, I went to the Ice Capades with my mom, which is ages myself, at the Forum. I guess it was the Forum. I was a kid. And we went into the restroom, and then two men came out of the bathroom. Okay. In my mind, two men came out of the stalls.
mhm,
Right. So I'm a Virgo child. I know men aren't supposed to be in the women's restroom. So
mm,
I'm already like, what the hell? in my kid mind. So I say to my mom, because I want to point out to her that this something incorrect is happening. I'm like,
Mhm.
look at those two men are here in the restroom.
Mhm.
So my mom puts her arm around me and grabs me close. She goes, stay away from them. All right, now I recognize it was two studs
Mm.
dressed very badly. If I could go back in time and be like, these outfits are not doing anything for the LGBTQ community, please wear something different. If you want to be masculine presenting, that's fine. But these two outfits are awful, right? But again, those two women living their truth. This was like in 1969 or 1970
Mhm.
when they didn't have a community around them. Now, maybe in LA, maybe I.
Mhm. Yep. Uh-oh. I think she froze on us. I think Minnassa froze on us, great people.
Folks who
Oh,
say,
okay.
I don't get.
You was freezing a little bit,
I know I'm sitting right in the room with my router and our internet's going in and out. So so let's.
Mm-hmm. Uh-oh.
Oh yeah, channel takeover. Yeah. So channel take.
I'll be breaking up, Minnassa.
Well, I
At
was
least.
saying that you see where it says here they have channel takeover. That
Oh,
means if I go off the screen, it becomes your show.
oh, gotcha. Okay.
So let's talk. You and I had a great conversation about your spirituality and your inner standing and my understanding and my overstanding. No, there's very interesting concepts, a lot of thought put into them. Why don't you share that?
Yeah. So, I feel that society um has limited themselves because they're so focused on understanding people. And I feel that when you try to understand people, um, you are doing yourself a disservice. And people who are trying to make people understand them are doing themselves a disservice as well. Because when we're looking at the two words, if you separate under and stand, you're standing under somebody else's truth or somebody else's perspectives or perceptions. And to me, I feel that that is not emotionally intelligent. If I am communicating myself to you, I do not want you to understand me because you'll never understand me. You'll never understand me. What I request of you is to have an understanding because developing an understanding between two people, one, I feel removes somebody's guard because I'm not going to stand under nobody. I don't care what you got going on. So immediately it's going to create some type of resistance. I'm listening to you with an intent on trying to figure out why do I need to understand that? So if I'm requesting for you to have an understanding, I'm now requesting for you to have a heart to heart conversation with me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for your heart to communicate to me. Because if your heart communicates to me, I know compassion resides there. I know love exists there. Is in your heart. So when we have heart to heart talk, then you can develop having an insight. Then you can understand the journey that I'm going through. Then you can understand why I'm having this my experiences, or you can understand why I perceive things this way, or why my perspectives are this way. And so when it comes to the understanding, I had to develop an understanding of myself, which led me to having an inner knowing of who I am, which led me to understanding my value, my worth, and my purpose. And that led me to understanding my truth. But as a collective, we are taught to just understand people, and that's it. And because and people get frustrated because they just don't understand. I don't understand how you're born this way and you're this way, and then biology and then religion and then all this other. I don't understand it. I just don't understand. Yeah, because you're not meant to understand. I'm asking for you to do something um that is not possible to do. The only thing I'm going to understand is my truth because that's the only thing I'm going to stand under. Now, if you want me to understand you, then sure, tell me about yourself so my heart can understand what you're going through. So my heart can understand why you look at things this way. Oh, I was molested as a child, so when I got older, this is why I'm defensive, or this is why I had these whatever whatever. Okay, I can understand that, but it's hard for me to be a man of my creed, okay, to be this unique individual and sit in front of somebody with a pen and pad who's ready to diagnose me with some illness or dis-ease. It's hard for me to sit there for you to develop this understanding. No, I don't need to go to professionals for them to understand me. I don't need to go to corporations for them to develop an understanding. I don't need to speak to people for them to understand me. That's too much to ask of somebody for me. Because what I
Mhm.
respectfully, I want you to stay in your truth, stay in the number one position that you are in, and be vulnerable to listen to me. Be
Mm.
vulnerable to learn from me. Be vulnerable to love me. And how can you do that if you're trying to understand me? No, you could do that if you understand me, though.
Mm.
So that's
So,
my concept of understanding, overstanding, and
so
understanding.
Jane is asking, do you feel like it's a spectrum? Is this what you're referring to, Jane, about how you understand with people?
Hmm.
Very
Is it?
interesting. Yeah, that you don't, right. That stop trying to get a grip. When I think part of what I hear you saying also, and Sharon is sharing your information, which
Hmm.
I really appreciate. Here on have moderators, and Sharon is number one.
Hmm.
She's put your information up there and how they can find out more about you.
Oh, thank you.
That way, I think when you're saying understand that one that people aren't listening to you at your heart, they're
Hmm.
trying to figure you out. So instead of listening, instead of I'm going to get you, you're this, you're this, you're this, versus you will tell me what you are
Hmm.
from your words and your actions, and then I'll have a knowledge of who you are. Versus, well, you wear glasses, so you're a man.
Hmm.
To all
Yeah,
those things.
yeah. As far as it like being a spec, I just feel like people just need to take a different approach when it comes to learning other people, right? How can you see yourself in me, right? And I'm not trying to have you see yourself in me because if I'm saying I'm a man, okay, I'll just go that route. Now I'm talking to a man who was born male, and they find out that I was not born with a male. So my processes to becoming male is different than theirs. They don't understand that. Okay, I wouldn't understand it either. All right, all right. It's like somebody who's Baptist trying to understand why the Buddhist is doing it. Listen, you're not going to understand it, okay? But you can understand why somebody wants peace within themselves. So you can
Mm,
understand why a person takes this approach instead of this approach.
mm,
You can understand why somebody is navigating their life this way because it's bringing some sense of peace, it's bringing a sense of wholeness within oneself, and it's bringing a sense of security of oneself. So you can understand that because you as a person want to be whole, you as a person
mm,
want to have a love for yourself, you as a person want to respect yourself. So when I look in the mirror, when I look at me, I want to see me. I don't want to see him, I don't want to see her, I don't want to see them. But but that's what's being created when you aren't living in your truth. You're living
mm,
your life according to what he said, what she said, what they say. But what
mm,
does you say? What do I say?
mm, mm,
So that's why my pronouns are the way they are, because when I transitioned, I was transitioning from female to this cisgendered way of thinking,
mm,
this toxic masculine way of being, right? I was transitioning from one box to the next. And I said, you know what? I can't do this. Okay. All right. I want to embody my divine feminine. I want to embody my divine masculine, and I want to unify them. So what
mm,
does that look like? Because my divine feminine is gonna love on me, is gonna nurture my nature. But my divine masculine is going to protect that nature and that nurture. So I need to unify them. I need to lead in my truth in my divine masculine, And I also need to love on other people's truth. I need to love on my truth. I don't need to feel ashamed of it. I don't need to do all this other stuff. So if I can, so when I navigate rooms now or any platform that I'm on, I will always give you me. But there's sometimes I don't feel like him. I don't feel like bringing him into the room. I don't feel like bringing her into the room. And I don't feel like bringing them into the room because it might be too much.
Mm,
But I
mm,
could bring
mm,
me and I could be myself, and
mm.
you will know who I am by the end of the day. And you won't be confused. You would just know that that's Dr. Scholar Lee. He's different. And that's what I want you to be, because it's my difference that's going to make a difference. I'm no longer ashamed of my differences, because if I say I'm he, then you're going to align that he with another he. I don't want you to do that. If I say I'm she, you're going to align that she with another she. I don't want you to do that. And if I say I'm they, them, then you're just going to put me in a group with them and I get lost.
Mm,
So I always tell people, in the word individuality, you can get unity out of that individuality.
mm,
But if you have just unity, you can't get individuality out of that.
mm, mm,
It is your individuality that magnetizes your community to you.
mm, mm,
And out of
mm,
that community is where you will find unity. But if you have no individuality,
mm,
then you will find yourself, yes, aligning with him, aligning with her, and getting lost with them. You will lose
mm.
me. Who are you? Why are you? You know? So I'm me, myself, and I all day. So that's yeah.
So let's talk about your spiritual journey. I don't know why how I didn't know about you and the tarot cards.
Hmm.
But I also want to talk about, because again, in many people, especially here in the South, black,
Hmm.
white, purple, green, you're not going to be doing that, and especially in the African American households. So how did you, as you transition or evolved into yourself, how did you take the religion of your youth
Hmm.
and get your spirituality to where now you're doing a more, to me, tarot, of course, to me, tarot cards are more natural. They are a language like the Bible, but it's symbolic. And
Hmm.
so it's open to interpretation. What most people don't realize, the Bible is also open to interpretation, but
Hmm.
because someone told them this is what God said, and you can't question God,
Hmm.
now there's no interpretation.
Yeah, ever since I was a child, I knew I was spiritual, but I looked at spirituality as being open to all forms of belief systems. What is
Mm,
the Buddhist saying? I wanted to put myself in a position to learn, right? And I didn't want to limit my learning. So to me, I wanted to know what the Buddhist was saying, and then I wanted to take what was so fulfilling to me. So that's how my spiritual journey had started. Then as I evolved, yeah, I got it enlightened to tarot, and I said, "Oh, okay. Well, this allows me to one tap into my spirit, right? To my spirituality, to my spiritual tribe. It's my way of communicating. It allowed me to um that's how I look at it. I mean, the cards are like the Bible, but in card form.
correct,
Okay. I
correct.
mean, because was Jesus not tapped into his magician energy while he was turning water into
Oh,
wine? He was
complete
healing people
magician,
while he was, and people was calling him a fool. Were they not? But he
complete
was the
magician.
savior.
Yeah, you got a little bit of food here. Okay, watch what we're gonna do.
Yeah. So he was tapped into that wholeheartedly. But and I just feel like when I use tarot or when I use oracle decks or things of that nature, and when I use it for people, I tell people I'm not here to predict your future,
Correct.
because you need to understand that you are a god. You know, yes, I'm a god, and when I say that, I'm not saying that in a way where I like to say this: I co-create with God, but I have to embody my God energy in order for me to cultivate with Him, in order for me to co-create with Him. I have to tap into that. I can't sit here and contradict the manifestation. So I have to own my God energy so God can work with me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and when I say that, I say, we're gods because you're a gift. You're a genius. You're a creative genius. You must be omnipresent in your omnipotence and be a disciple to your truth. Have dominion over your life. That's what God means to me.
All right.
So I have to exercise my gifts, be a gen.
So Harold shares that my version of deity wants me to question and understand deity through my own experiences.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, your God is not my God. So don't throw your Bible at me when it comes to how I'm navigating the world. Your God is for you. You have that sacred relationship with God. So I had to take ownership over the relationship I desired to have. I had to create that relationship. And what does that look like with me? I had to go internal. I had to go inside of me because that's where I'm going to find my magic. That's where I'm going to find my power. That's where my truth is. So I had to
Mm.
go inside of me. And I had to say, you know what, God, I know you love me. I know you love me because I'm here. So what I need to do is declutter and detox myself from all this programming and indoctrination. I
Mm.
have to take these systems out of me. And I just need you to guide me to my truth. What is my truth? And help me develop this understanding and overstanding. When I read the verse of when Jesus asked God to forgive them for what they don't know, I internalized that. I had to forgive myself for what I didn't know. I didn't know my value. I didn't know my worth. I was deceiving my own self. I was the most transphobic person out here. And that's
Mm.
what the trans people need to probably be talking about, how they
Mm.
are the most transphobic. Because there's nothing you can say to me that I have not said to myself or said
Huh.
worse.
All right. All right.
So I was the most transphobic. So when I'm sitting here and I'm talking to people about my experience, because I'm not even transgendered, I tell people I am transcending. I'm not transgender. That's just another label society created, like gay, lesbian, black, blue, all this other stuff that they create. Transgender is another label and another way of navigating life with limitations. It's another label that I'm identifying with. No, I don't want to be labelized. So I've even transcended beyond the transgender label because you have to transcend in order to ascend. In order to master you, you can't associate yourself with just one group,
Hmm.
one way of being, one community. No, Jesus navigated the lands. He went where he was called. So,
And then
in order,
interacted with all the wrong people. I
and with
wrote an article here that said, I wrote an article for the paper here that said Jesus loved the end quote wrong people.
mm,
Right? Because all the people that to show master teacher Jesus interacting with were people who were rejected by society.
we were rejected.
And that part of that message and part of what I hear you saying is that, yeah, that I think that whole concept of intersectionality, that I don't just, I'm a mother, yes, and I'm a daughter, yes, and I'm a wife, yes, and I'm a woman, yes, and I'm a preacher, yes, and I live those things multi-dimensionally, multi-intersectionality. And so you might get, I was so happy. I've been watching the videos of Blue Ivy dancing with her mother, or dancing in her mother's concerts.
Mm-hmm.
But when beforehand, there's a time where her and Beyonce are near each other. And at that moment, even though you paid to see superstar Beyonce, at those moments, she is Blue Ivy's mother. And if someone had stepped in a way to where Beyonce thought they were going to harm her, she probably would have just killed him right there, because at that moment, she was both superstar and mama,
Mm-hmm.
right? But you couldn't say, well, who was she being? She was being both,
Yeah.
and it just smiled on her face when her daughter came. I thought, you know what? Okay. Right. So that I don't have to be one way all the time or even in the same conversation.
Mm-mm. No, I'm not here for. I laugh at this concept of inclusion when people would talk about whether they're talking about corporates or just the world in general. Inclusivity, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't need to be included in your world. I don't need to be included in your organization. I am okay being exclusive. I own my exclusivity. I don't want to take away from my exclusive. I am exclusive. I am a unique person. So
Right,
for me
limited
to,
edition.
yeah, I am a unique person. So I'm not gonna sit here and demand that you include me in a room that I'm not supposed to be included in. I'm okay. I'm not trying to walk into somebody else's house and tell you to change your curtains. That's what I'm not gonna be doing.
Yeah,
No, I'm
right.
not. It's too much to ask for people. And they wonder why resistance and they wonder why everybody's all riled up. You're asking for too much. I am okay being exclusive. All I'm requesting and all I'm demanding is that you respect me. Now, either you're going to respect me outside of my presence because I'm not going to navigate with your energy if it's toxic for me, or we can share energy and it's a respectful situation. How can we be respectful amongst the exclusivity is what we need to talk about.
Mm.
Not how can I include you. I truly feel that I could sit at a table with a KKK member and we could have a bunch of laughs because what I'm not trying to do is make you be pro-black. Okay, and what I'm not, and what you're not going to do is be disrespectful. What we can do is talk about is find a way to communicate and share a laugh or two. Okay, have a conversation that may be that may be interactive. So I feel that I could communicate. I just share that because I could communicate with different creeds of people, and it's because I understand, overstand, and understand who I am.
Mm.
I am a whole circle at the end of the day.
Correct, correct, correct. Yeah, that was
So
my point about being, I'm a lot of things and you can get me, you know, but you may not see all of it at one time, but have that understanding that I am more than meets the eye.
yeah, if you look at the number system, you have zero, right? Everybody says number one is the first number. No, it's really zero. All the numbers come out of zero, though. All of them come from out of zero. And when you draw a zero, great people, what are you drawing? You're drawing a circle. So you must be whole before you could create anything out of that.
Mm, mm,
So before you interact with the one or the two or the three, you have to be whole. You have
mm,
to create out of wholeness. You can't create out of, you know, being half or whatever. Even in a
mm.
relationship, you have to come full. You have to come whole in order to make something productive out of it. If you're coming half empty or empty, then yeah, then you got to be more careful in that relationship. Okay.
Indeed.
You have
Indeed.
you know so yeah, I just tell people, just be a gem, be a gem, be a genius. Okay, enlighten people and be the messenger, because that's what I am. you know I am God's enlightened messenger. I am here to enlighten people. Okay, I'm not here to tell people what to do. I'm not here to force my beliefs on people. I'm just here to speak my truth, serve in my truth, and seek my truth. That's it. And if you want to listen and learn from it, that's great. And if you don't, that's great too. Okay,
We're
so
having a lot of people just really loving this. Terry had to leave, but she said she'll come back and watch the rest. Incredible show. And then Audrey just saying this is a great conversation.
oh, awesome. I'm glad they're
Well, in
enjoying
the
it.
few times minutes we have left, let's talk about tarot. What are your favorite tarot decks, or what tarot decks do you work with the most, or
Oh,
oracle
yeah.
decks?
Well, I have a lot of oracle decks, believe it or not, but some of the tarot decks that I have,
Yeah, you can talk about oracle decks too, because I have probably 10 different tarot decks and probably 30 or 40 oracle decks.
yeah, I have. Let me see here if I could take off this virtual background. Okay, now you can see me here. So this is one of my favorites, the Chinese Fortune.
I've never even seen that.
Oh, this is awesome. I love this deck because it gives you general messages. It also gives you financial messages. So for like one example, it comes with a book as well. And it'll come with like different cards and things like that here. But then when you open the book, it'll give you so like I had drew a money card. I just recently did a tarot on myself. So it'll give you a general message, and then it'll give you what the It'll give you something about your career and finances, and then
Hmm.
relationships. So it hits everything. It hits your, finances, money, personal. So these are one of my good decks. I love
Now, is
color.
that a tarot deck? So it has the four suits, or it's an oracle deck?
It's an oracle deck. So this is an
Oh,
oracle deck
please take a picture of that and send it to me.
yeah,
Text it to me.
by Sharina Starr, and then she also has these fortune cookies. Right, these are like little decks here too, and they're little cards here that you could just it'll give you whatever's going on or what have you.
Hmm.
So I love this deck. I got a divine directions deck here where it'll give you divine direction on what you want to do, where you want to go, depending on what question you ask. I have so many decks. I have this deck called The Power of Surrender by Judith Orth
Hmm.
or Orloff. Uh, I know I have so many decks. I'm like a deck freak here.
I
But
know
The Power
everyone.
of Surrender, and pretty much she'll tell you what you need to surrender to. So if I'm doing a reading for somebody, or I like to say an enlightenment session, because I'm not here to tell you about your future. I feel
Correct.
like
Correct.
you can you're here to create your own future. But it'll be this might be a card, surrender to your worry.
Oh
So
yeah. So let me just say for a minute. So every time we have the tarot cards, Gerald, who this is, Gerald is my community boyfriend.
oh
He'll remind us, purchase responsibly and know your limits. That we're not telling you to buy these cards,
oh no, we're not. Yeah.
but we're just saying that to use them. So we got to always make sure. That's right. I always forget.
Yes, and so these are one of the decks, and then man, I just have so much, and then I have this book of answers here where I'll have somebody ask a question, or I'll ask myself a question because I like to tap into my own energy a lot, and then I just figure out whatever page it is, and then it'll give me an answer,
That's
whatever.
right. Bibliomancy. Now, that's one of the things that guy Gerald had asked me about. He says, have you
Mhm,
ever done bibliomancy? Where
mhm,
he said, you can do it with any book. You just
mhm.
say, I need to know this. You can open the Bible, the dictionary, whatever. And I was just like, so see, I need to do me some bibliomancy.
Yeah, and I have a bunch of affirmation decks here, mindful messages.
Hey, I just on Fridays I do a 5 card reading, and my this last Friday I did mindful messages. I love that little deck.
Yeah, I love this deck, and I have the Key Oracle. So this deck here,
Once
you
I
can
can't see it.
oh yeah, the Key Oracle by
Hmm.
I don't know what Michelle here.
Oh, it looks good
Oh
though.
yeah, I love this deck because you can know what's not working in your favor, and it will tell you what you need to do to get to where you need to go. So
Hmm.
this is a really cool deck. I love this deck here, and then I like this deck here called the Soul Truth
Hmm.
Self Awareness deck. And what I did with this deck actually, I would pull cards from here and I would journal. So I will pull a card, and it's pretty cool. It'll ask a question on the front. How can I
Hmm.
surrender? And then it'll give you an action to do or something to reflect after it give you a quote, some quote here. But then it'll say what action to do, and it'll give you a mantra to say as well, right?
Wow.
So it would have me like, how can I surrender? And I would just journal. It was a way for me to do like some self healing and journaling and things of that nature. I have the divinations of ancients. This is also a great deck here. Um, the empaths empowerment deck.
Wow.
Judith Orloff. I love this deck here. And it just it'll show some of the cards on the back here. Set clear boundaries and things of that nature. But I love this because I'm an empath. So I would just do that deck for my empaths out there, and I'll pull a card and say, you know what, this is what we need to do, and blah blah blah. And this is a pretty good deck too. The Wisdom Keeper Oracle deck and Inner Good Guidebook.
Hmm.
This is a really good book. This is a really good deck as well. It just gives you like wisdom for certain experiences and things like that. Is really cool. Do you have this one, the Divination of the Ancients?
I do not.
Yeah, this is really cool. Uh,
So
yeah,
send me a picture of that one.
yeah.
The Chinese one,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then the empath one, because this house is full of empaths. Because
Yeah.
my
Oh,
wife's
okay.
a Cancer, my daughter's a Cancer, and then I'm a Virgo. So I thought, I'm not an empath. And then one day someone said to me, you have so much empathy for people. You just really take on their feelings. I'm like, oh shit. That's exactly my response.
And here's a good deck too. Karma
I
cards.
have seen that deck
Yeah.
before.
So this is good if you
I
want to
know.
know.
So yeah, a lot of people are saying that like these decks are completely new to me.
Oh,
So how
okay.
about maybe yeah, I'm trying to think of maybe there's a way you if you send me send me 4 or 5 pictures of those, and then what I'll do is on my Mindful Monday or my Tarot Tuesday, I'll say these are the decks that Dr.
Mhm.
Lee shared.
Oh yeah.
Oh, so now Jane's saying, how about one of your tarot decks? What's a tarot deck that you like?
Oh, so I got the regular tarot. This is more like a learning tarot, where like it'll tell you yes or no, give you all the chakras on there, the
Well, what
energies.
deck is that? Show the color.
This is the learning tarot. You get all of these I got off Amazon or Etsy.
Wow, the Learning Tarot.
Yep,
Wow.
learning tarot. Yep, this is awesome, and this is also a good deck I got. I got this off of Etsy. It's called the Celestial Fortune Astrological Oracle deck, but it also gives you what I loved about this deck is that it gives you all the astrological ailments, and it also will tell you like kind of give you a time. It'll let you know certain things, and it'll tell you what tarot card associates with that. So
Wow.
I actually love this deck.
So please send me a picture of that one too.
Yeah, the
And
Celestial.
so I'm always good to keep this. Would
Yeah,
love to see some of the music or reading some point. So okay, so Scott, you're gonna come back and we're gonna read together. Because see,
oh
I make it very clear. I'm not predicting your future. Why would you give that power to me or even to the cards? But what
yeah.
I do is I empower you. I'm a spiritual guide. I'm gonna connect you. I'm a conduit for your guides wanting to speak with you. And so we will get this on the calendar. I always want to keep it to an hour to honor the time of the people who participated. Thank you to everyone who came in, and for those of you, your words of support to Scholarly, and just being here to listen to those of you who watch it on the playback. Thank you. And so, what is your 2 minute wrap up?
Well, my 2 minute wrap up is to be great, be bold, and to always be you. And to know that you can create whatever it is that you put your mind to, that you desire to, because I have done it physically, I have done it emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And I just want you to take sovereign over your life, because you are just as valuable as anybody that you give value to, that you give power to. You are the power, right? I go off the 7 E's now because I keep on growing. But that is
Nice.
education, elevation, enlightenment, empowerment, expansion, and you lead to evolution into your excellence. So all of those in that concept. So when you enlighten yourself, you will feel empowered to want to expand and explore so you can evolve into the excellent person who you are. So that's what I'm
That
saying.
is wonderful. And just so many people are sharing. Jane said, thank you for introducing us to Scholarly. And I thank you. You know, one of the things is when I quit my job, I thought I was going to be able to be on my friends' channels more. And it's just, I seem like I have less time than ever. So good to see the support of Jane and Taro, Joan, someone's with me every day. And so just really thank you. Terry was here earlier. Thank you for all of you again who come. Thank you for those who watch later. And Dr. Scholar Lee, you will be coming back.
Yes,
I want you to come back, and yeah, let's put some power with the tarot, especially those oracle. I know people are like, "What in the heck?" Yeah,
yeah.
but some of those decks, I'll definitely be talking about getting a reading. So thank you. I want to keep to the hour time,
Mhm.
and it was a blessing to have you here. I'm so glad that we met. All of you who are here, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Sharon, again, who was my moderator and just knocked it out the park as always. All of you have a great week and be safe and see you soon.